Well, we forgot to cut out our holes for our all thread, so we kind of taught ourselves a new way with our 1.5-inch spade bit to drill through. Um, we learned how to, instead of like if you put um, a crooked 2x4 in as a stud, instead of taking it out and trying to find a straight one, Corey taught us to make a tool where we could bend it back, so that was pretty cool. It saved a lot of time.
Yeah, just basics of framing, making sure that you are right up against your 4x4. There's no gaps. Um, yeah, I guess just everything about framing.
I wish I would have known that we constantly had to check our level, because even though you level it 2 or 3 times, every wall you put up and everything you do to the house, it's going to shift a little bit. So I wish we knew that.
I left a cripple out, which wasn't a big deal. You just put it in there. And one of our studs ended up about a 1/2 inch off. So just double check your layout and make sure you're, working quickly, but still paying close attention to where everything goes. Yeah, well, in terms of workflow, just, as always, make sure you're working together and be one step ahead of your partner and thinking one step ahead of your partner. Um, there are definitely a few things that will help framing go smoothly, making sure, and also helping you in the future when it comes to drywall. So make sure that your studs are level with each other as you're nailing them on the ground. You may have to shim it up. Just make sure they're spot on, because it'll make your drywall a lot easier and look a lot better. Another thing is there's 2 walls where you have a trimmer next to your 4x4. So leave that trimmer off so that you can nail in your stud, your king stud, to the wall. And then after your wall is nailed in, then you put your trimmer up. That makes it a lot better and easier.
Other than that, just make that tool that Corey said with just like maybe a 3-foot 2x4 and maybe 18-inch scraps that you throw on. That really saved a lot of time. So it's super easy to use too.
Yeah, and one thing that's going to make it go a lot faster is if you and your teammate have your whole layout done. Then you're going to count your number of studs that you need, cut them all at once, work together, hash it out who's got what, and then all your studs are cut. It's going to be a lot faster that way.
And measure all your walls separately, because the camber and the glue lamp, it's going to affect the height of all your walls. So they're all going to be within a 1/4 inch, but they're all going to be a little different. So measure them all separately and just lay them out like, oh, well, I need 10 at this height, 5 at this height, and then you're set. So today you're going to need a 6-foot or Corey's 8-foot level just to check the plumb on your 4x4s before you start framing. You're going to need a sledgehammer to tap in those hard to get corners. You're going to need a broom to clean your floor as you go so there's no uneven surfaces. If you already haven't chalked your line from 4x4 to 4x4, you'll need your chalk reel. You need your speed square to make sure that your glue lamp is flush with the bottom plate and top plates. You might need some shims to shim up your 2x4s as you're framing. We made this thing so we could set it on our 2x4s and take the bow out. If you have a 2x4 and it's up against something, but it's really crooked, you can take this and slip it over, and you can bend the 2x4 back and forth. So you can hold it straight while your partner nails it in. You're going to need your hammer and nail puller in case you have to pull some nails. You're going to need a nail gun and nails, of course. Jasper just slid some clamps, which are pretty crucial. We're going to need those to help be kind of like a third hand when you're putting your walls up. And we also used our drill and 1-inch spade bits because we forgot to cut out our all thread holes, but that worked just as good and it was fairly easy. So that's pretty much all you're going to need today. It's pretty simple. It's just the same thing over and over.
Well, today we are starting to frame the exterior. Yesterday we went around and did our layout. We cut all of our top and bottom plates. We did our layout, and now we're going around and taking measurements for the height of our studs, and we're going to cut them all. Yeah, 91 5/16. I thought we needed that one and that one. So we went around, measured all of our studs. We made a count, and now I have written down my measurements and the number of studs. So we're just splitting up, cut them all at once, then we'll come back and throw up the walls, and that'll be a lot faster that way.
So we just cut all of our studs for all of our walls, and what we did is every measurement from plate to your glue lamp is different. So I went ahead and I just marked our walls like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we took a measurement for that wall, cut the amount of studs, and we have them separated here. So this is a wall, this is a wall. So when we go to start framing it, we don't have to cut, we don't have to measure. The only thing that we have to do is cut our headers for our doors, our sills for our windows, and our cripple studs. But that's something that you couldn't measure before. So now that we have everything cut and prepped, it should go pretty quick.
So we're starting to frame our first wall. We laid it out. We've crowned our studs. And yeah, we're just starting to build our walls.
Okay.
What's happening is we've got so much camber in our beams that when we're putting levels in the center of our 21 foot, we're not getting an accurate measurement. So we're going to shoot our 4 corners in with a laser to make sure our corners are all level, and that with the camber won't matter for us at that point. So we're shooting the floors all level within a 1/16 to an 1/8 inch.
Yeah, it helped a lot. We were about a 1/4 inch out of level from side to side. So the school has a laser level now that we can use to check, because there's no way to tell the level from one point to the other side with just a 4-foot level. So that really helped, and hopefully you guys will only have to do it one time using that versus like 10 times with like us. So I think it sucks at first, but if it's the only time you have to level it, then it's worth it. We have our wall frame, but we forgot to cut out our notch for our all thread. So we're just gonna measure out where the notch goes and drill an 1.5 inch hole to give us a lot of wiggle room for that all thread to go through. But the next,
Where's it supposed to go, right?
it's supposed to go 30 inches in from the outside of that 4x4. Well, right now we're nailing our wall in, and an important thing that Dan mentioned is the inspectors. The state inspector wants the edges of the wall to be perfectly flush with our 4x4s. So how he's checking is he's getting a shim, and if he can't put a shim in, then it's tight enough. So there can't be any gap, so that's what we're working on right now. Here, you just, the top one? One more?
So I'm just showing them how to get their top plate level with their beams. And we leveled out the beam to your stud to your top plate, so it's all nice and flush. So that way you don't have any gaps in it or anything like that. So when you go to put your drywall on, everything is going to be nice and smooth. There isn't going to be any studs protruding that's going to give you a hump or anything like that.
Yeah, so we're getting our walls up. We are putting them up, making sure they're flush with the outside, making sure they're tight on the sides with our 4x4 posts. Yeah, we're just moving along. We got to make sure that on the sides where we connect our 4x4s, they are tight. You cannot be able to even slip a shim in there. So make sure you're getting that in there tight. Another trick is to make sure when you're building your walls that they're flush on the bottom. So when you put your drywall on, you don't have bumps. You want it to be flush as well. So think about that as well.
So right now we're putting in our bedroom window wall, and it's a little more tricky than just 16 on centers because we have a window, but nothing too bad. We have our trimmers pre-cut. We just need to cut our 6-foot opening and cripple studs to length, but other than that, we should put it up pretty quick.
And I see that you guys are laying down everything first,
Yeah.
building it on the ground, and then bringing it up, right?
Yeah, that's the way we were taught. That's the most common way. Some people prefer building it as they go, but I don't feel that confident yet, so I'm gonna stick with what I know. So right now we're laying out our bedroom window wall, and basically all we did is we marked our layout on our plates, we separated our plates, and we have all of our studs pre-cut. So now everywhere there's an X, we know that that's a stud. We're throwing our king studs down on both sides and just filling our 16 on centers, as well as our compression studs. Our trimmers are pre-cut, so we'll slap those in. But on this wall, when we go to throw it up, we're gonna build the wall on the ground with all these studs except this trimmer stud, because a 16 penny nail isn't long enough to go through both 2x4s and bite enough into this 4x4. So we're gonna build the wall with just the king stud, and then after the wall's up, we're gonna throw our trimmer stud, our window sills, our headers, and cripple studs. So we have as much as our wall framed as we could. So we threw it up. We're throwing it up right now. We still have to put our bottom sill and bottom cripple studs in, but we noticed that there was no gap on the bottom and about 1/8 at the top. So we checked our plumb on our 4x4, and the house shifted a little bit. So now we're re-leveling that 4x4. So Jasper has to take our bracket off and move it over. So after we get that done, then the rest of the house should be thrown up pretty quickly. Yeah, we were trying to see if we could move it that 1/8, but the bracket's doing his job and it's not moving, so we're gonna have to take it off now. The line that we snapped yesterday from 4x4 to 4x4, it was snapped before we put this one in, and it looks like this 4x4 shifted about 1/4 inch back, so now we're not hitting our chalk line. Well, we're about to go to lunch right now, but so far we have 3 walls up. It went a little bit slower than expected, but what did save a lot of time is cutting our studs before, and sometimes we'd go to nailing our studs and the wood would be a little warped. So Corey taught us how to make one of these, and what this does is when the stud's laying down, you can slip the stud in and you can bend it back and forth to straighten it out. So I mean, it's just scrap pieces nailed together. That saves a lot of time. So as you're nailing the wall in, you can just hold it for your partner and straighten it as you need. But yeah, so I highly recommend cutting your studs before instead of framing wall by wall. So
And that's what you guys did, right?
yeah, that's what we did. And don't forget to cut out your notches for your all thread, because we forgot it twice. So we just had to run an 1.5 inch spade bit to drill holes, but it's nothing too bad. It's just something you don't really want to do. So right now we're framing our 4th wall. This wall's a little bit, it's a new type of framing because we have a window and we've all put windows in, but we also need to put blocking in the wall, and that blocking is going to give us something to nail into for our interior wall. So right here we're going to have, this is going to be spread out, and we're going to have a 2x6, blocks of 2x6 up and down. And right here we're having 2x4 blocking. This is for our closet wall, and this is going to be for our bathroom wall. We're also going to need to put some blocking in on that butt wall too. But other than that, it's the same thing that we've been doing.
So we got this wall up. We got our 2L window for our bathroom. This is blocking that we put in for an interior wall, so we have something to nail to. And then we're going to do the same thing over here with these 2x4s for the closet.
Just as we expected, this one, it's not a full wall because we had to make a cutout for our hallway, but it went up pretty quickly. The thing that takes the most time is putting this blocking in. But what we figured out is if you put the blocking in while it's still on the floor rather than holding it here and trying to make it flush, it goes a lot easier. So after you frame your wall, you'll just get your hammer and tap your blocking from the back. Once it hits the subfloor, then you know that you're flush with the front of your 2x4. Then you're going to take your nail gun and angle nails down. So once you have your wall up, you're ready to go, and there's nothing else to do.
You said you gotta hit it from here in the back row?
Yeah, you got to go at an angle if it's on the floor. And when you're trying to flush out your ceiling, it helps a lot if you take your hammer and use it as another hand to pull, and then you can run your speed square across to make sure you're flush. I never did it before, but I just started doing it, and it really helps a lot. You can grab your 2x4 with this hook and use it as a hook to pull it, and you can give and take and keep going. And as you're flush, you can have your partner just driving nails up as you work along the wall. Installing our last wall right now. This is where our sliding door is going to be. So before you put this wall in, it's important to know to leave your trimmer stud out and install that after you have your wall up, because one nail isn't going to fit through both 2x4s into the 4x4. So we're going to do that after. Other than that, it's the same. Make sure to cut out your holes for your all thread before you start framing, or you're going to have to go back and use your 1.5-inch spade bit like we did. But for me, it felt quicker framing the wall and just using your spade bit to cut. So that's something new you guys could try, but if you just want to notch it out, that works too. The nail will take it back.
Well, today was day one of framing the exterior walls. What we're looking for is that the window openings are all square and plumb, so our windows will slip right in, equal distance. We put our blocking in for our partition walls to nail to. Here we've got a corner right here. This will be the edge of a wall. We've got a pocket door going in right here. We have a 6-foot sliding glass door going in here. So they've got all that framed opening. And then over here, we've got our egress window, a 4x4 window for people to get out in case there's an emergency. So right now, they did a really good job. They got all the framing up. Real happy with what they got done today. Everything's nice and neat. Everything's tight. You can see a little daylight here and there, but they'll nail that tight once they start nailing. But otherwise, a very good day. They did a great job. Everything looks nice, straight, and clean. And that's really what we're after.
Perfect. Overall assessment, good job.
Overall assessment, very good job. They did a great job.